Have you ever felt paralyzed? You have the talent, you have the plan, you can see the finish line so clearly in your mind, but your feet, they just won't move. You tell yourself you're lazy, you tell yourself you lack discipline. But what if I told you that laziness is just a mask, worn by a much older, darker emotion? You aren't lazy, you are terrified. The 5-minute rule. Once, in a city of glass towers and endless noise, there lived a man named Daniel. Daniel was an architect, but Daniel had a secret. In 20 years of calling himself an architect, he had never built a single house, not a shed, not a wall, not even a doghouse. Daniel was a master of preparation. His office was a temple of productivity. He had the expensive oak desk, perfectly polished. He had the Italian leather chair, ergonomically adjusted. He had 12 different types of drafting pens, lined up by ink thickness, every morning. Daniel would wake up at 5 a.m. He would drink his cold brew coffee. He would meditate for 20 minutes to clear his mind. He would sit at his desk, open a fresh white blueprint, and stare at it. He would tell himself, "Today is the day. Today I design the masterpiece." But then, a thought would creep in. Is the lighting right? Maybe I need to research ancient Roman arches first, just to be sure. So he would go to the library. He would read for 6 hours. He felt productive. He felt busy. But he was not building. He was hiding. He was hiding from the terror of a bad idea. Years bled into decades. His hair turned gray. His expensive pens dried out. The blueprints gathered yellow dust. Daniel became an expert at talking about architecture. He could critique any building in the city. He could point out the flaws in the cathedral, the mistakes in the library. He was the smartest man in the room, but he was the emptiest. One rainy Tuesday, the weight of his unlived life finally crushed him. He was walking through the old quarter of the city, his mind racing with excuses, when he stopped in front of a small, dusty shop. It wasn't an architect's office. It was a stonemason's yard. Inside, there was an old man. The old man was not elegant. He was covered in gray dust. His hands were thick and scarred, like old tree roots. He was humming a quiet tune, chipping away at a rough block of granite. Daniel watched him through the window. The old man wasn't planning. He wasn't researching. He was just striking the stone. Clink, clink, clink. Daniel walked in. The bell on the door rang, but the old man didn't look up. "Excuse me," Daniel said. His voice trembled. "I am an architect. I have been planning a masterpiece for 20 years, but I cannot start. I'm afraid it won't be perfect." The old man stopped. He blew the dust off the stone. He looked at Daniel with eyes that were clear and terribly sharp. "Perfect?" the old man wheezed. "Nature is not perfect, son. Trees are crooked. Mountains are jagged. Only dead things are perfect." Daniel frowned. "But I need a plan. I need to see the whole building in my mind before I lay the first brick." The old man laughed. It was a dry, rasping sound. He reached down and picked up a single, ugly, red brick. It was chipped on one corner. It was rough. He slammed it onto the table. Thud. "Look at this brick," the old man said. "Is it a cathedral?" "No," said Daniel. "Is it a palace?" "No." "It is just a brick," the old man whispered. "It is heavy. It is dumb. It has no grand vision. It just sits there." He pushed the brick toward Daniel. "Your problem, architect, is that you are trying to build the roof before you have laid the floor. You are trying to finish before you have started." You want the glory of the castle, without the boredom of the brick. The old man leaned forward. I am going to give you the secret that took me 50 years to learn. Forget the masterpiece, forget the cathedral. Your only job today is to lay one terrible, imperfect brick, and then do it again tomorrow. Daniel looked at the rough stone. For the first time in 20 years, the noise in his head stopped. The architect shut up. He didn't need to be a genius. He didn't need to be inspired. He just needed to be a bricklayer. He picked up the heavy stone. He felt its weight. It was real. And for the first time in his life, Daniel didn't think. He started to build. Daniel's story is not unique. It is the story of every person watching this video. You see, most of us are taught to be architects. We are taught to measure twice and cut once. We are taught that mistakes are failures. But in the real world, the architect starves, while the bricklayer feasts. Why? Because the architect lives in the future, a perfect future that does not exist. The bricklayer lives in the messy, ugly present moment. If you want to kill the someday man inside you, you need to adopt the 3 rules of the bricklayer. Rule number 1, the vomit draft. This comes from the world of professional writers. When you sit down to work, your goal is not quality. Your goal is quantity. Give yourself permission to produce absolute garbage for 10 minutes. If you want to start a business, don't write a business plan. Go find one customer and try to sell them something. Even if you fail, you have done more in 10 minutes than the perfect planner has done in 10 years. You cannot edit a blank page, but you can fix a bad page. Rule number 2, lower the bar until you can step over it. Daniel failed because he tried to write a novel. That bar was too high. When the old man told him to lay one bad brick, the bar was on the floor. If you can't work out for an hour, work out for 5 minutes. If you can't meditate for 20 minutes, take 3 deep breaths. Consistency beats intensity every single time. A brick is small, a brick is heavy, a brick is boring. But if you lay one brick every single day, eventually, you have a wall. And if you keep going, you have a castle. Rule number 3, action creates motivation, not the other way around. We think we need to feel ready to act. We wait for inspiration to strike like lightning. But the brain doesn't work that way. The brain needs proof. When you take action, even a tiny, microscopic action, your brain releases dopamine. It realizes, hey, we're moving, we're safe. And suddenly, you want to do more. The hardest part of a space rocket launch is the first 10 seconds. It takes 90% of the fuel just to get off the ground. Once you are moving, momentum takes over. So, look at your life right now. Where are you paralyzed? Where are you overthinking? Stop being an architect. Put down the blueprints. Pick up a brick. It might be sending that email you're dreading. It might be putting on your running shoes. It might be filming the first 10 seconds of a YouTube video. Do it badly. Do it scared. Do it now. Because someday is not a day of the week. And the only time you have is right now.